well remember the day that this all happened. We went to stay at a friend's house for the night and ended up being 3 months at the friend's house because we thought it would be an overnight. You'd fill the basement and no big problem, but it was totally a disaster.
Yeah.
We were being told about the flood that was imminent. We just thought, I said, well, I'm not moving because everybody was to go up to the school, and I said, we can't go up to the school, they won't take the dog. I was fed up with being in the house, so I went down to Dunkin' Donuts, and they just closed. It was about 2 p.m. So I thought, well, let me just go back to Stewart's, and they had closed. There was no people, it was dark. So I came back home, and this is the strangest thing.
We weren't too concerned, and we weren't ready to get out of the house or anything, because we've been here for 48 years and they didn't have to go. And Scott came down and he said, you gotta come up to our house. And we didn't know what he was talking about, so he said, well, they've got rumored around that the dam has shifted and they don't know what's going to happen. So to be safe, you've got to get out. We said we better go just to be sure. So Grandma and I put our coats on the way we went.
The fireman was running up and down the road saying the dam was compromised, and I said, well, if that dam is about to go, we probably got about half an hour. I don't know how fast the water would travel.
Right.
It was a mandatory evacuation, and I said, well, I suppose we have no choice, you know. But our son had his riding mower in the back barn, and they had dinner that night, and he said to his wife, well, let's go down and get the lawnmower. And then said she got out of the truck and was standing there, and she said all at once this water came swirling around her ankles. Dan came running from the barn. He couldn't even get his tractor. By the time he reached the truck, she said you couldn't even see the roads. There was the only way you could know where the road was because of the light, the lamps, the light posts and things.
Wow.
And they just made it up Spring Street. Otherwise they would have been swept away, so it must have been just starting right then.
Yeah.
He never did get his mower, he left it in the back.
We didn't prepare because we weren't in the floodplain to begin with, and the only flooding we had was, as he said, in '96, where it just came through the cellar windows in the basement. We didn't really expect, high water, certainly, maybe like '96, but never anything to the magnitude that this came, never.
When we were allowed back into the village, and I thought, dear me, when I looked at it, and as I say, I thought it was going to be for one night, and I'm sure everybody did, and suddenly everybody's lives were changed. Oh, it was chaos, mud.
Yeah, this is not the set of pictures that really show what it was.
As I say, we walked through it, and I think I was just numb to the whole thing. Couldn't believe it. I'm like in another world, I think. Cause you're looking around at all this stuff that you lived with all those years.
It was just mud, upturned furniture, stuff smashed, the refrigerator upside down, just everything. Must have come through with a huge force. The water itself, and it still didn't make me. Because stuff is stuff. There's nothing of tremendous value here, that we have. I mean, if I read about this in the paper, I think, oh dear, that's how dreadful for those people. But when it's actually happening, it's like, oh, all the little inconveniences and things you take for granted. I mean, we didn't have ice cubes, and my son likes his rum and coke. So that was a problem. We had to keep going down to somebody who had an RV that was plugged in and they could get. But all the little things like that, it was nothing. It's just little inconveniences, you know. Whatever. It was nothing that couldn't be dealt with.
Right.
Most things can be dealt with if you put your mind to it. The volunteers were amazing. We'd come to the house and never know who was here. People were here cleaning, doing whatever. Loads of teenagers. They flew in from wherever. They cleaned, they painted. Nothing was too much trouble. They dragged, hauled stuff to the curb. They did anything and everything, and just people come around with sandwiches. The flooring all came up. This is what we're having done at the moment. Redone. But all the floors came up and the walls came down, but it got back together. And it was even better when it was finished, because we had the things that we never kept saying we would like to do, never did. And now we had all of this space, we could, do it. Have a downstairs shower. It was very nice. So a lot of good came out of disaster, and usually that's what happens.
They kept saying, I'm not going back there. I've heard so many people say, we're not going back there, we're going someplace else. Well, a lot of people came back that could do it, A lot of people didn't come back. They left the place just as it
We helped them a little bit, because when they looked and saw a new house going up, and they're saying, well, I don't think I want to live down there. And I said, gee, those people are building a new house. So I like to think that we influenced a few people to stay in the village. We lived there for 50 years. We probably wouldn't live an awful lot longer, and we might just well stick it out. So
it was home. That's the way I look at it. It was home, and our families are here. Both boys and family. My home is a nice home. I mean, you can look around and see it. This is like our original one, but it's nice. You make it how you want it,
And we moved back in. We moved back in on Shirley's birthday, December 10th, 2011.
Wow.
Yeah, we're the first ones back
that
here.
That was, 100 days after the flood, we were back down here living.
We were hoping to get in for Thanksgiving, and that didn't happen, but we were in for Christmas.
Christmas Eve with you.
Yeah, because we stopped and bought a Christmas tree on the way home.
Well, we made it almost 5 years so far, right?
Hope that we go down to the stone fort and the cemetery down there before we get another flood. That was.
Well, I don't think of it that way, but
I guess that's the way I looked at it.
Right. Well, I always heard two phrases in my life, is life goes on and one day at a time.